writing a festival-worthy short film script, because so many people get their start in shorts. And we've worked on a ton of shorts, we've written a ton of shorts, and we appreciate just how important they can be to your career, and also to growing your network and all kinds of great things. So I will just kick this off by saying welcome. So glad that you're here with the Black Magic Collective and Alex and I. And as you know, all great films they begin with great writing, and especially shorts, because you just don't have that much time. So if you look at what makes a great short script, there's there's a handful of things, right? And it all goes back to the writing. It goes to structure. So having a sense of a beginning and middle end, you have a little more leeway in a short than you do in a feature. The length, right? So shorter, the trends I'm seeing as a festival programmer are shorter and shorter because it's easier to program them. And it's very, very tricky to make a film of any kind. So if you are making maybe your of shorts, shorter is better because it just gives you that sense of accomplishment. The genre, it's really easy to default to either drama or horror. And I would say, let's talk about that before you commit to a single genre, because if we're talking about festival and award winners, what we really want to do is try to help our programmers, right? We want to help our programmers program our film. And so they're always looking for more genres. Short as in condensed. And a lot of people have a longer form project and they're using this short to pitch it. So we want to talk about sort of an approach to pitching, right? And picking out that perfect segment of your longer form piece that would work really well as a short. So when I say short, I mean condensed, I mean compressed. There's no fat in the writing. It moves, you get right to it. And something that it's really easy to do is be confusing. And to that, I would say back up and think about simplifying your short, because when you try to jam too many things into it, it can be hard to follow, right? If it's too many characters and it's too many locations, like just really focus. And you're all experienced film watchers and media consumers, right? So this is the challenge, is to make it surprising. It doesn't mean it has to be a completely new idea. In fact, many of the best short films are based on pre-existing sort of stories that we already have some idea of, but it has to have your special twist on it. It has to have that special pepper that only you really can add to it. And so really think about, what is the your unique twist on that story, and definitely go for the feels. You want to evoke emotions, whether you have a script that is a couple minutes long, 10 minutes long. It's about conveying an emotional experience. It's about finding that emotional reaction from the audience member. So don't back away from that. Go into that as far as you can, because you can always pull it back. You want it to be the maximum in emotional currency, because that's what keeps the audience moving. And really think about, right at the beginning, what is it about? Just like you would a longer form piece, like what's the premise you want to tackle? What is the theme? And take some chances with that, because I think that's the beauty of shorts. You can take a chance, you can do something different, because you're not necessarily spending years of your life, although some people do spend years of their life on a short. But the idea is that you can move more quickly, so you can try things, you can experiment a little bit. And the last thing I'll say, which we'll go back to this, and I know you all know this, is great characters. We need to care about the characters, because it doesn't really matter what happens if it's a character that we're like, I mean, yeah, okay, will they make it? Will they live? Does he get the girl? Like, do they die? Like, we have to have the audience has to have some emotional stake in what happens to the characters, if that makes sense. Practical tips. And feel free to pipe up, Alex, if you have a thought on any of these. But when you're first getting going with your script, try to define your goal, right? Like, what is the reason I'm doing this? Do I want to build a specific type of story muscle? Do I want to meet some new people? And am I trying a new format? Is the idea to push myself on character, dialogue, you name it. But it's really great to get something very specific because it helps you focus, writer, director, whatever it is. And articulating that will help you spread that idea to your collaborators, right? Think about budget and resources right up front. Write what you have, try to do it for free as much as you can, be realistic, so that you can get it going, see it made, and creativity can thrive within constraints. However, what I will say is try to do a short that goes outside of one apartment. I have seen so many shorts, and there definitely have been very quality writing and ideas, but they didn't get out of the one room. So let yourself leave that one room. Feedback, I think, is really important all along the process, right? When you first have an idea, when you have a log line, when you have an outline, whatever it is, like, ask your friends, especially the people that you trust with the great storytelling muscles, right? And that can help you kind of point it. Give yourself time constraints, commit. Having a time goal is this powerful driver of momentum, right? So it could be, well, this festival opens, I'm going to submit it. Or school starts in the fall, so I have to do this before school or the end of the year or whatever it is. And picking a shoot date, committing to that is a really powerful tool. You've all heard of those 48-hour film challenges. They really, really focus, right? You just have 48 hours. So do that to yourself. Give yourself the kind of deadline, or I like to call them lifelines, that will keep you going. And Alex, I'm totally talking over your slide. This is
no. I just wanted to add, so honestly, and not to take away any of the romanticism of writing, because if you have a great idea and you want to write, that's the best part about writing, is obviously, like, no one has to give you permission. You can write, you can do it anytime. That's the magic of writing. However, if you want to write a short script, I find it very helpful to figure out what you want to do with it before you start writing, because that will determine a lot of aspects of your script that maybe you haven't thought about. So there are several different things you can do with a short script, because it's like, okay, I wrote this short script, like, now what do I do with it? So you can enter it into competitions. There are tons of film competitions for scripts out there. You can enter it into, there are different ones you could do, like film festivals or anything like that. You could sell it. Maybe you want to pitch it to a studio or something, or you can make it yourself. And the reason why you want to kind of think about what it is you want to do with it first, because it's going to determine, like, how many locations should I have? Because if you're only writing it to put it into a festival, put it into a competition, but you don't intend on making it yourself, kind of like, sky's the limit. You can do different things. You can have 12 white unicorns in it, because you're not making it yourself. You're wanting to pitch it, you're wanting to sell it, you're wanting to enter it into a competition. So you've got a little bit more space to play. But say you want to make it yourself. Most likely this is going to be a micro budget. You're not going to have all the resources in the world, or maybe you will. That's another story. But for the most part, you're not going to have a ton of money to play with. So you want to be more practical about it. Like, maybe we can't get 12 unicorns. Like, maybe we can get a donkey. Like, so that's what you'll put in your script instead. Like, you'll limit the locations, limit the characters, make it as short as possible. So things like that, I find it really helpful to think about before I even start writing, because if you start writing it and you write this beautiful masterpiece and you're so proud of it, and then you hand it over to, like, your producer or director who's going to make it with you, the first thing they're going to say is, like, you need to cut all this out. And then you'll be heartbroken and you'll be like, no, but I worked so hard on this and I love this part. And they're going to be like, yeah, but we don't have the budget for that. So it just kind of saves you a little bit of time. And then also, as Paula said, feedback. So that's one of my biggest things, is feedback, feedback, feedback. As artists, we tend to feel very like our work is so precious and we hold it so dear, and we're not, oh, I'm not ready, it's not ready to show. I say in order to get over that, show it to as many people as you feel comfortable. Like, get as much feedback. You want people to tell you their opinion of it, and you want people to tell you early. You want to get different demographics, different age groups. Like, does this make sense out of my head? Because writing is such an internal thing, and you might think that it all makes sense because you write it. But like I say, show it to as many people as possible. And then also like build up a thick skin, learn how to take criticism because this industry is like all about criticism sometimes. And some days it can feel like you're getting knocked down a lot. So if you kind of build that up early and find yourself a little immune to it later, that is helpful. And also, Quentin Tarantino said, you should feel embarrassed to show your work because that means you care about it. That means it's about something personal. So it's okay to be like, oh, this is kind of like about me, or this is about something and I'm a little embarrassed. Like, that's okay. It's art. So, but yeah, those are my 2 cents.
Love that. Love that, love that, love that. Very good comments. And the thick skin thing is really the beauty of film, right? It is this collaborative thing, and everybody has different ideas. If I hear the same note, 2 or 3 times, I go, oh, okay, that's a note I really have to consider. It doesn't mean I have to agree with it, but I have to at least consider it, right? And a lot of times somebody will have an idea that is just comes at out of left comes at you out of left field. So you never know where the good ideas will come, and that includes from every cast and crew member, but also even people, as you're talking about your concept, strangers or friends who aren't filmmakers may also have really good ideas. So a basic workflow. Oh, go ahead, Alex.
Oh, sorry. I just had a good quick story about that actually, because even industry experts don't always know. So obviously, yes, take people's critiques, learn from them. Like Paula said, if one person says something about your script, maybe you can ignore it. If 10 people say the same thing, you might want to look into it. But just because they work for a big studio or something, they don't always know either. So follow your gut a little bit too, because I was at Austin Film Festival a couple years ago, and this one panelist was talking. She was a writer, and she was talking about how she was from Cuba, and she had recently just written this beautiful like period piece that takes place in Cuba, which is something that hasn't really been done before. And she was pitching it, and all of the executives at Netflix were like, no, nobody cares. Nobody cares about your period piece. Guess what came out the next year? Bridgerton. The highest grossing show, like blew everything else out of the water. So they don't always know. So again, follow your gut instinct a little bit too.
I love that. That's a great reaction. And also, this is art. So that means that we as artists have the right to do whatever we want. No one is the boss of you. Just because you're collaborating, you can still write what you want. So I want to just go through a basic workflow of steps to write a short film. And I think, if you've done many, you may just be looking for a new idea, or this could possibly be something to just shake up a routine that you have. And none of this probably will surprise you. It all starts with an idea and a character. And maybe you get the character before you get the idea. A compelling character is really one of the things that glues us to the screen. So that main character that you first designed could be your villain, may not be your hero or heroine. So remember that, like that character that keeps us, the Hannibal Lecter character is not too much of an exaggeration, but that kind of, you just love to see how evil they are, right? And as you cultivate your character and their traits, their physical traits, their backstory, all that kind of stuff, the story is really about their emotional journey. And if they don't change, if there's no growth or maybe descent into hell, then it's going to be hard to keep people with you. Although we've all seen slice of life pieces, and that's great. But if you're taking somebody on a ride, right, which is what a short film is, you want to give them some sort of insights. And so that's really your main character's emotional journey and the other characters around them. A lot of people, when they first come up with an idea, they have a genre right away. that's fine. But you could try on different genres, right? So what if ET was a horror movie, or it was a romance, or a romantic comedy? One of the things that festival programmers need, I mean, I know that there are, contests that center, script contests and festivals that center on just one genre, is a lot of times a different genre or an unusual genre sticks out just by the fact that it's a genre that not everybody is doing right now. I'm seeing a ton of horror. It's a ton of drama. So just think about that, because a lot of stories, if you tilt them just slightly, could be put, maybe it's a Western, maybe it's more of an action film, and just put that in your back pocket and think about it. Once I have an idea, I have a character, then I do a log line. What happens to so and so when this happens, and then that happens, right? It's a good way to just sort of, can you convey the idea in one sentence or two sentences, and then from that do an outline. This happens, here's the inciting incident, what gets it going, where does it go to, where's the climax, and how does it end, right? Obstacles, conflict, drama, surprises. And once I have an outline that's maybe half a page to a page, I can go back to the log line and I can say, does this feel like a real story now, or does it need tweaking? Log lines are this great tool. They're a really great tool to help you get the most exciting story. We talked about feedback, so share that all along the way. And I would say when you're writing, it's a very solitary sport or art, depending on how you think of it. And it's really good to have an accountability buddy, even if that's a friend, another writer or not, who's like, how's it going in a week, 2 weeks? Commit to a table read with a couple of people that if you're in a writer's group, tell the folks in your writers group, start a writers group, start a short film writers group, and then just get going and enjoy the process, knowing it's going to zig and zag. You're going to hate it, you're going to love it, and something's going to come out at the end. And Alex and I have been running a screenwriting notes service, and we do feedback for all different varieties of projects, including log lines and shorts and all that stuff. But we're starting an accountability service, because one of the things we've heard from writers the most is, I really wanted to do this, but I just couldn't keep it going. So we're offering completely for free. If you want to commit to a date and have us check on you, we totally will, because we're writers and we know it can be hard. It can be hard to hit the deadlines.
Yeah, it can be really hard. I'm really terrible at holding myself accountable. So I have like systems in place. My uncle is a writer. And so anytime I'm working on something new, I will let him know and I'll say, hey, in 2 weeks, will you ask me to send you this? And he will, round the dot. He'll be like 2 weeks later, he's like, where's it at? And then you feel that shame of I haven't finished it, not because of me, but because there's someone else who's disappointed in me, and it just helps. So that's why if you really reach out to us and we will try to hold you accountable and help you out with that, because it is difficult. But like Paula said, this is a very collaborative art form. We're all here to help each other. So rules of thumb, like we said before, shorter is better for a short script. I know oftentimes it's easy to write a short that's we get a lot of 20-minute shorts, a lot of 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and that is just too long. Reason being, if you do want to make your film submitted to a festival, a short film is never going to play at a festival just by itself. People are not going to buy a ticket to see this film festival, go in, watch a 4-minute short movie and leave. It is always in a block of other short films that equal about a feature, so that people are getting their money's worth and, time well spent. And so you want your short to fit with other people's shorts. And so shorter is always better, and festival programmers look for that. So the sweet spot is really 4 to 10 minutes. And I know that that can seem kind of overwhelming, how am I going to fit an entire story into 4 minutes? But it is very doable. I do suggest watching a lot of shorts, and that will kind of help you. But it's very doable actually once you get going. And don't be so concerned about that on your first draft, right? The first draft is written to exist. You just want to get your idea out on the page. And then from there, you can pull it back and you can really shape it. And again, send it out for feedback, ask people where, where can I cut this? Where can I trim the fat? Like, get your producer brain going and ask other people to also help you. Like, what do you think I could lose? And be open to losing things, because it is collaborative, and oftentimes you must kill your darlings, which is a phrase about killing off your most favorite part, which I've had to do, and it hurts. So again, beginning, middle, end, it's pretty simple. Like, keep it simple. Don't try to make it too complicated. There are all these different script writing books and everything. Save the Cat is one of the biggest ones. And they talk a lot about like the 7-act structure and all of this. And that's for later, sure. It's great. It's definitely helpful for a feature, but a short script is, again, 4 to 10 minutes, 15 at most. I think that under 10 is sweet spot. But, keep it simple, keep it short. Come up with a beginning, an inciting incident. So the thing that kicks everything off, makes it all happen. She tripped over the milk bottle, and then she fell into this, and then she fell into a canyon, and that's the inciting incident. And then the middle, the arc of the film, where everything, all the juice, everything's happening. In the end, who changed? Did she, the main character changed, the world around her changed, something. And, keep it simple. Twists and turns. Like Paula said earlier, there are really only so many stories that exist in the world. Like, I think there are like 3 stories. It's like the hero's journey, something else, something else. And that's really the base of like every story that exists. So don't get too caught up in like, oh, well, this has been done before. Everything's been done before. Literally everything. That's why they're making all these sequels and prequels, and because everything's been done. But it's more like, how can you do it? Like, how can you make it interesting, this thing that's been done? I recently watched a movie. It's on Apple TV Plus. It's called Cherry. It's got Tom Holland in it. And it's a story about a guy. He goes to war. He comes back. He's got PTSD. He suffers from addiction. That's been done a lot of times. Most war films are about that. But the way they film it, the way that it's kind of like arced, the structure of it makes it so interesting, so good. And I really liked it, even though it's a story that's been told a million times. So just think about, how can I make it a little bit different? How can I make it fun? And also, how can I raise the stakes? Because you want the stakes to be so high. And like Paula said, you can always pull it back. So just like load it up, make it so much, like the stakes are so high. And again, not to keep giving examples, but that's how I find, I learn. I always tell people to watch the very first episode of Breaking Bad. It is a show, obviously not a short film, but it is such a great example of the stakes being raised again and again and again. Like, oh, he's a poor, they don't have a lot of money. He's got to get 2 jobs. His teaching job sucks and none of the kids care about him. His son is handicapped. Now he's got cancer. Now they're going to lose their house. Like, it's literally like up and up and up and up, and he has nowhere to go. And that's why he sells meth. Sorry for the spoiler. But anyway, it's just like the perfect example of like, you kind of can't go too far with the stakes. One of my biggest issues whenever I write is I tend to be a little too subtle, and not everybody always gets it, like, it's okay to be obvious. Like, sometimes you think, oh, my viewer will get this, but not necessarily. So it's okay to be obvious. Again, if this is something you're planning on making yourself, don't have too many characters, don't have too many locations. My first short film, we did film a good chunk of it at my house because it's free. And then I think we had 2 or 3 other locations. And all of them were like easy and cheap and affordable. And like, think about places around you that that you could have access to. Like, don't film anything on the moon, right? Like, your chances are you're not going to be able to figure out how to film something on the moon unless you have access to some sort of like, studio space and you can create it. So like, do it in a coffee shop, do it in an apartment, do it on the street. Just like, kind of be mindful about the locations. Come up with a budget. That's more Paula's thing. Budgeting, timeline, and goals. Obviously, everything takes a little bit longer than you think. Sometimes things get pushed out. The new Mad Max movie took like 8 years to make or something. So, sometimes things get pushed out. But if you come up with like a budget timeline goals for yourself, it really does help you write this. So it's not taking you 8 years to make. Um, and then another example of a reason why you should write a short script is proof of concept. If you have a bigger idea, whether it is a little bit of a longer or a crazier short, if it's a feature, if it's a web series or a show, and you don't have the budget to actually make that right now, but you want to get investors, you want to put it out there, you can make a proof of concept. So you literally just film like a short film, basically, about your longer film. And then that is a way to be like, here, investors who might want to pay me money for my movie or like invest in my movie. Here is the example. It's almost like a trailer. It's like, here's a proof of concept that I'm going to make this feature with your help. So that's another great way to, or reason to make a short. And also it's fun. Like, show off your strengths, show off your creativity. Learning is doing, right? So like the more you do it, the more you learn. I met one of the writers of Billions once when I was first starting out, and he said, "Oh, great, you wrote a script. Put it in a drawer, never look at it again, write 5 more, and then you'll be on the path to writing a really good script." Now, that's not always the case. You can write a good short script out of, right off the bat. But he's saying, practice makes perfect. Like, just keep doing it. And then we've got some links here at the bottom to some examples, because I still think the best way to learn anything about films is to just watch them. Watch as many as you can. The Oscar winning shorts. Now, some of these you'll find they're a little bit longer or whatever. They've got bigger budgets, and the Oscars are different than other film festivals, and some film festivals have different rules as far as lengths. But those are really great to watch. And then this one at the bottom by Jay and Mark Duplass. This is an excellent first short film to watch. It's called This Is John, circa 2003. The Duplass brothers, very big, very famous, very successful now. This was their first like claim to fame. They made this film. It was the cheapest film ever to get into Sundance. I think they made it for like $3 because all they did was buy it was 2003, so they had to buy the little tape to go in the camera, and that's it. They filmed it at their house. I don't remember which brother, Jay or Mark, is the actor, the other one's the director, and it's literally just him trying to record his answering machine. And that's the whole film. It's like 7 minutes long. It's really a great example of something that's so simple, probably didn't take very much time, definitely didn't cost a lot, and it went to Sundance. So it's just a really good short to have in your back pocket to watch for ideas. And it's a good example of how you can have a beginning, middle, and end in maybe a way that you didn't expect. It's not like he, goes on this big journey and he tries to steal the Declaration of Independence, and at the end he does this, and then like it's a beginning, middle, and end that takes place just like right in this room. And like Paula said, it can get a little sketchy to just do a whole film in one location. It takes really good acting and it takes really good dialogue to kind of pull that off. But that's not to say that you can't do it. So that's a good example of people who pulled it off.
Yeah, and it's actually one of the best reasons to go to a film festival, in my opinion, because film festivals are a great place to see a lot of short films, and it's really it can give you a lot of good ideas. And there's a number of great short films online. So if you find one, please share with us. Please share in the chat. There's a number of good ones, and it can be a very straightforward idea. As Alex said, she was talking about a film on the moon, and I've seen short sci-fi that the concept was science fiction. So we didn't see other planets and things like that, but it was made clear that we were in another planet at another time, and they were going through a very extreme version of things that we encounter right now. And so you can explore different themes in sci-fi or fantasy, if you establish sort of the rules of the world and you ground us in that, and that doesn't necessarily have to be expensive. So don't shy away from that. But like Alex said, the more unicorns you add, that's when it gets tricky. So we're covering a few things that you probably already know, but to kind of stating the obvious is part of what we need to do. And there's a bunch of stuff that we shouldn't sweat, right? Alex, you were talking a little bit about it. Different,
Yeah, I know. So I'm a really big advocate for like you need to learn the rules first before you can break them. I know a lot of people will be like, "Well, look at what Spielberg did," and it's like, yeah, well, he has how many millions and billions of dollars, like he can do that. And also he learned how to, you learn the rules first and then you break them. However, don't get too bogged down in like 3 act structure, 7 acts, or like, because it's going to stress you out a little bit. So, like, every one of us already knows how a movie works. I mean, we've been conditioned. Everyone, presumably, if you're here and you want to write a script, you like movies and you've seen enough movies to where, like, the flow of a movie. You just do. And so when you're writing, just try not to like sweat it too much. Software wise, I do recommend, I know Paula agrees that using like just Word or something, like it's gonna stress you out even more because you're gonna have to figure out how to like structure and format it on your own. So investing into a software, I think is really worth it. Now there is a free software, I believe at least the first couple of scripts you write is free. I can never remember how to say it. It's Celtics or Celtics. And it is spelled this. I'll write it in the chat. I think
I put
it's
it in the chat. Sort of three
Perfect.
the
Thank
main
you.
ones.
Yeah, perfect. Now that's a really great one to start out with. Now industry standard is Final Draft. That's what all the professionals use. You do have to pay, I think it's like $200 or something. It might have gone up with this last update. I'm not sure. If you're really serious about it, I do think it's worth it because it is only a one-time fee. So it's not like you're paying that yearly or monthly or whatever. So again, just something to think about in the future if you do find that you're really serious about it. I have Final Draft. I love it. And then there's Writer Duet, which I don't know as much about. I think that it's a monthly fee and it's a really good way to collaborate with other people because it allows you, there's like a function that allows you to collaborate, kind of similar to like Google Docs and stuff, how you can like share them and both write on it at the same time. Oh, and it looks like somebody put in the chat, Final Draft offers 25 to 40% discount. Cool, thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Yeah, kind of went over a lot of this. Paula, did you want to add anything about budget?
Yeah, I want to add just about the budget because a lot of folks end up writing and then directing and then producing and then acting in their scripts because they want to get something made and they want to get going. So, in terms of budget, using the tools in your hand, right? What you have is a really great way to go. And then if you think you're going to need money, definitely consider crowdfunding. And Seed and Spark is a wonderful platform. There are many others, but Seed and Spark is a favorite around here. And certainly if you're doing a crowdfunding campaign, be sure to share it with us. We'll spread the love, but it's a really great way, crowdfunding, not only to raise money, even if you don't raise a lot, but you can build community and you build supporters around your film. And that's really important, people to kind of cheer you on. And one of our upcoming online seminars with Black Magic will be about crowdfunding and various techniques around crowdfunding. So stay tuned for that. And pick a timeline, go ahead and commit to it, and just be okay that things might expand a little bit. Stuff takes longer than you think. So and so's gone vacation, and be a little bit flexible because that's just sort of the nature of collaborating with people, right? Jennifer is asking if Black Magic has a writers group, virtual meetup. We don't, but maybe we should, right? That would be a really great conversation to have if this group is interested in that. Um, so I've done a lot of programming in film festivals and writers contests, and I just wanted to share, one of the things that programmers will look for or judges will look for, right? So they're going to look for, and this is going to sound totally contradictory, they're going to look for a universal experience in a story that's very specific. So it could be something from your family life. It could be from a memory that you have. It could be a story that we all know well. So it's something that we can all relate to, but the details make it super, super specific, if that's a helpful framework. So in terms of myself as a reader, I look for things that are colorful and interesting. I look for a script that gets going on page 1. And that is a must, because readers, it's a very hard job after a while. And if you grab us in the first half of the page, there's a really much better chance it will keep on reading, right? Again, going back to the dynamic character who really is interesting or different or very specific in not just how they look, but the way they talk, the way they act. Maybe they have quirks, maybe they are some ephemeral thing. Base your characters on people that you know that are very interesting. I don't mind stories that I've seen before, as long as there's some kind of fresh take. It happens in a different place, or it happens with a different cast of characters, or something gets turned on its head, right? Because like Alex said, there's only so many story flavors, and actually we want a story that takes on that certain shape that we like. There's a reason people, are serial watchers of romantic comedies, or they just love thrillers, right? We're drawn to certain emotional experiences in our story. And then the last thing I'll say, which is a little bit abstract, is the writer's voice. And this is just that sense of an author or a writer, screenwriter, that is distinct. So yes, read a lot of scripts, watch a lot of films, watch a lot of movies, watch a lot of shorts, but go ahead and listen to yourself, because you have something that is very unique and personal and distinct, and no one else can do it. It's just yours. It's only yours. So take advantage of that. The fact that you are unique, and programmers and contest judges will definitely recognize that.